as we do our devotion for reading through the Bible in a year in the one-year Bible, and this is the devotion for August 20th, and we're looking at Esther chapter 8 verse 1 through 10 verse 3. So that takes us to the end of Esther, and as we wrap Esther up, we see that the king gave the estate of Haman to Esther, and Mordecai received the signet ring from the king and was placed over all that belonged to Haman. But that's not the end. Esther appeared before the king again, and the king held out the golden scepter. Esther asked for the edict to be overturned that had commanded the destruction of the Jews. Apparently, though, an edict couldn't be revoked, but Esther could make any edict she wanted, and then Mordecai could seal it with the signet ring. So Mordecai prepared the edict saying that the king allowed the Jews to gather together to defend their lives and to wipe out any forces that came against them, including women and children, and they could plunder all their goods on the same day that the previous edict specified, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. The Jews rejoiced, and many people actually declared themselves to be Jews. So when the day came, the Jews defended themselves and overcame their enemies. Among those killed were the 10 sons of Haman. Esther asked for one more day for the Jews to destroy their enemies in Susa, and this was granted to them. The 14th and 15th days of Adar became days to commemorate this victory and deliverance. It was commanded by Esther herself. As the book of Esther ends, Mordecai is honored as the second in command to the king, and he sought the welfare of his people and spoke peace to all his people. That's how the book ends. As we look at this book, it is unique because it doesn't mention God at all, and there aren't any specifically miraculous events. Yet, as we look at everything that takes place, as improbable as it is, it leads a person to ponder the miraculous quality of the ordinary. There is an applicable quote to that effect which says, "A coincidence is a miracle in which God prefers to remain anonymous." It's amazing that throughout history, God has interacted with individuals in such a way as to move history toward the goal ordained by his eternal purposes. Whenever this happens, the ordinary takes on a miraculous luster. It's also amazing that God interacts with the physical universe at all, yet he does. And he is a personal God, and he personally provides. We call this providence, God working through the ordinary laws of physical and human nature to care for his creation and to care for us. As we read Esther, it's all about God's providence, and it makes it clear that God is in control of history, which also means that God doesn't only direct the paths of galaxies, he also directs the thoughts and decisions of the human mind. It's easy to grasp the whole galaxy thing, but much harder to understand how God works in this way amongst us mortal human beings. However, providence does not mean that we must adopt a fatalistic view of life, like everything's already determined, so what difference does it make? No. I like the Catechism's teaching on the Lord's Prayer, and I think it certainly applies here. Luther wrote, "The good and gracious will of God is done even without our prayer, but we pray in this petition that it may be done among us also." And how is God's will done? That too, Luther answered by saying, God's will is done when he breaks and hinders every evil plan and purpose of the devil, the world, and our sinful nature, which do not want us to hallow God's name or let his kingdom come. And when he strengthens and keeps us firm in his word and faith until we die. This is his good and gracious will. Well, that is the book of Esther. May God be with you and bless